Well, happy Friday, everyone. Hope you had a safe and enjoyable Independence Day. This week, Clark County Council moved to lift a 5-year-old ban on marijuana businesses in the unincorporated areas. The changes will take effect the first of next year and allow legal recreational marijuana sales, production, and processing in Clark County for the first time since it was legalized statewide. The 3-2 vote will also reduce buffers for retailers to 500 feet, except for most schools and public playgrounds. Processors and producers will retain a 1,000-foot barrier from things like churches, parks, community buildings, and more. There are currently 3 marijuana-related permits held for unincorporated Clark County, including 1 retail location. Currently, the state is not issuing any new permits for marijuana-related businesses. In his editorial this week, ClarkCountyToday.com editor Ken Vance shared his thoughts on the council's decision. Vance wrestles with his own conflicts on the issue, first as a live and let live person who also supports the will of the people. Vance acknowledges that by supporting the ban on marijuana businesses, he might just be in conflict with those views. Van also acknowledges the contradiction of banning marijuana use while allowing alcohol and opioids to systematically destroy members of our community. However, in the end, Vance supports the stance of the Clark County Sheriff's Office, the Public Health Department, and other experts who believe that ultimately marijuana is not a benefit to our community, and the councilors should have voted to allow the moratorium to remain in effect. To find out more about how Vance reached his conclusion, head to ClarkCountyToday.com. With the 4th behind us, it's the official start of Northwest summer, and that means fire dangers will be ramping up. Clark County Today's Jacob Granneman finds out what area fire crews are doing to help you prepare.
We had the opportunity to accompany some firefighters from Fire District 3 this week on one of their fire risk survey home visits. Large portions of Fire District 3 are rural properties with a higher risk of encountering wildland fires. In fact, they are now one of 12 areas in the state likely to experience loss of property and life to fires. Fire District 3's voluntary, no-enforcement style home visits are free and aimed at educating the public about methods of protecting their homes and properties from wildland fires.
Well, it's the propane you don't want up above.
Chris Drone is the fire marshal for Fire District 3.
It's a cooperation between us and the community, more specifically the residents of our WUI, which is our wildland-urban interface. We see value in going door to door and helping folks to identify what they can do to make their homes safer in the event of a wildfire. Clark County is growing faster than ever before. We want to make sure that we track where these homes are, what the risks are, and that we can offer appropriate service to these folks.
The service will continue throughout the season and is as easy as contacting the fire department for an appointment.
A lot of the times when we do see our community during calls, it can be frantic or it's not a really good time to get to know the person. This gives us time to get to know the person and just learn about them and their property.
With large fires across the West Coast last year, particularly in the Columbia River Gorge, the fire department hopes to not only foster an educated public, but collect data on property access for engines to know how to better fight large fires should they occur.
Where's the nearest hydrant? Is there adequate access? Are there bridges that could be an issue? And this is all data that we gather and we take back and we put in our pre-plans so we can respond appropriately.
For Clark County Today, I'm Jacob Granneman.
Awesome story. Thanks, Jacob. Well, this past weekend, citizen advisors for the Vancouver Police Department were invited to test their hand at a series of life and death training scenarios. We were there to tag along.
What do you want? What do you want?
Nice. In the wake of a series of officer-involved shootings earlier this year, Vancouver Police Chief James McIlvaine is under some pressure to examine the department's use of force policies. Part of that has included conversations with the Chief's Diversity Advisory Team, or CDAT, a group of citizens representing local minority communities.
CDAT had a lot of questions about them and what kind of training the officers go through. And so we took some time, as you'll remember, over a few months to come in and talk about what are the laws dealing with officer-involved shooting, use of force. Then we came in and talked about our policies, and we also talked about use of lethal force, use of less lethal force, and we said we would follow it up with a day like today.
Right. When you pull the trigger, we get 5 seconds of that.
Members of the group were geared up with vests and a belt, equipped with dummy guns and disabled tasers, then taken through a series of training scenarios involving real-world situations that officers in the field may experience on any given day. These scenarios included that deadly traffic stop, a suicidal suspect potentially threatening a group of bystanders, a domestic violence situation, a fight with an unarmed suspect, and a series of quick-hitting encounters to test an officer's ability to recognize quickly if someone might be a threat.
King's X, turn around.
Lynn Marzetti, a member of CDAT and the local NAACP chapter, says the training was informative, though he wonders how much different things would have been if he were a police officer with years of training.
If I had to do it again, I'm not sure I would have shot in each case. Like when the gentleman had a knife and went over to the crowd. I'm not sure I would have shot him and killed him, but I'm sure I would have pulled out the gun. I know some officers are trained, you don't pull out the gun unless you're ready to shoot. I think I would have been ready to shoot, but I'm not sure I would have just shot him down at that point.
Marzetti says they still believe the department needs to release more information about several of the officer-involved shootings, but he feels the chief is taking the right steps to address community concerns.
We need more information to decide whether, from our perspective, from a citizen standpoint, whether the officers were premature in their shooting those individuals or overreacted in those situations where they could have let the person live.
What are you gonna do? Tase me? Huh? Come on! Come on! Come on!
Now, CDAT members will get the chance to provide feedback on the training and question Chief McElvain at their next meeting later this month. This week, Hawkinson School District welcomed a new top administrator. Steve Marshall takes over as superintendent after the departure of Sandra Yeager to become head of Cornerstone Christian Schools in Vancouver. Marshall comes most recently from the Camas School District and says he's hoping to continue building the district's relationship with the surrounding community and promises an open and honest leadership style. Marshall began his career teaching elementary school in Vancouver and has also been a high school coach and teacher as well as a principal. The city of Washougal reopened the dock at Steamboat Landing Park with an official ribbon cutting after major renovation and replacement of the old floating walkway and pilings. Now replacement of the observation deck and park access is on the horizon. The project cost approximately $1.5 million, with half secured through an insurance payout with the city and the other half supplied by state funding. Mayor Molly Costin said she believes this reconnects Washougal to the river in an important way. In business news this week, Clark County-based Gainers Automotive announced they're expanding to a fifth location. The company, founded by Tom and Holly Gaynor in 1986, purchased the former Swinehart's transmission location in Orchards and officially began full-service operations at that site in June. It's a reflection of the way the community has received our service and put their trust in us, said Tommy Gaynor, president of Gainers Automotive. Gaynor also hinted at further expansion in Clark County in the future. To schedule an appointment or for more information, visit Gainers.com. Now it's time for your Week in Review Sports Update with Paul Valencia.
Happy Friday, everyone, and I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. This week in sports, we told you the story of Elizabeth Peary, a 12-year-old softball player from Ridgefield who is one of the nation's finalists for Major League Baseball's pitch, hit, and run competition. She won her local event, then won a sectional, and then competed at Seattle's T-Mobile Park after a Mariners game. When it was all said and done, she was among the top 3 in the nation in her age group. That earned Elizabeth a trip to Cleveland for Major League Baseball's All-Star festivities this weekend. This was also the first week on the new job for Mick Hoffman. The former assistant superintendent of Vancouver Public Schools is the new executive director of the WIAA. We were there when Hoffman was cleaning out his desk in Vancouver, and we brought you some of his goals now that he is in charge of the state's governing body for high school sports and activities. And on Friday, we brought you a video project by our own Mike Schultz, along with a story on the art and science of batting practice. The Ridgefield Raptors allowed us some great access for their BP before a game recently. BP is a lot more than just taking a few swings here and there before a game. Players use the time to focus, to prepare, to improve. At the same time, it is fun and competitive. Oh, and the coaches throwing BP? They are kind of like superheroes. From time to time, they fail to get behind the protective screen, they get hit, and they bounce right back and throw the next pitch.
All right, thanks, Paul. That's just a small bit of what you'll find this week at ClarkCountyToday.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to see when stories are posted and be part of the conversation. And you can also send your news tips and comments via email to news@ClarkCountyToday.com. For all of us, I'm Chris Brown. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.